you are going to love what is about to happen to you today because we have the focusologist, Penny Zenker. What's a focusologist? Well, you're about to find out. Like, she may be the only one in the entire world, but she started out as a technology entrepreneur who turned around and created massive impact. She was brought in to this big company managing, I think, four, five, six different other companies, conglomerate, and overwhelm caved in. But her dark moment turned into something that is going to be a victory for you because she learned the power of focus. You want to overcome stress, you want to get out of your own way, you want to stop plateauing, you want to get all of this weight off your chest and actually move. Penny Zenker is your person. Penny, welcome to the League of Leaders here in Leadership Live. I'm so excited to be with you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here too. So, rocking and rolling with all of you.
Let's go. And for those of you who listen, I'm getting better at engaging and asking questions, but if you got something for Penny, you need to throw it into the chat. Join us live. I gotta know, Penny, like, why focusology? What is focusology? Talk to us.
Well, some people think, oh, that means you're the holy guru of focus. And I say, not necessarily. I am just as distracted as the next person, squirrel. But that's exactly why I call myself a focusologist, is because we are in a focus crisis. And I do it as a reminder and a practice for myself to relearn and recommit to focus every single day. So just having that, right, an ologist is somebody who studies something, who works on it, who practices it. It doesn't mean, and yes, they're good at it
Yeah.
because they practice it, right? So I don't want to be the only one. I want to invite all of you to become a focusologist and just put it at the forefront that that our where we put our focus matters. And so often today, with the pace of change and technology and how fast things are changing, we need to be moving quickly, but we also need to stay with clarity and focus. So that means that we need to reassess our focus, right? Focus isn't just attention, it's where we put the direction and that it's aligned with our goals, our values, and our intentions.
Mm, I love it. Penny, I don't do this for anyone. Actually, I've never done it for any guest ever
Ooh,
on any podcast I've ever done, but I did a drawing for you,
no
right? So, like,
way.
oh,
You
I did a
gotta
drawing
show
for you.
me.
Oh, it's great. Ready? Here it is. So your name is cut off here. Let's see if it shows
All
up
right,
right.
I see it.
All right.
I
So
see it.
we have the oh, let me do it this way. Sorry. There we go.
Okay.
Nope, this way. All right.
So
So we
tell
have the
me the name.
starting. All right. So we have the starting point,
Yep.
and then we have the place where people want to learn, and then we
Okay.
have the place where Penny takes them.
Yeah,
But
baby.
this is focusology, and this is the thing that ruins it. This is what you made me think of: is this valley,
Uh-huh.
this place where the scramble happens, the tangle happens, and so many of us get trapped here. I hope you enjoy my
I
lovely
did.
art. Yeah, so many of us get trapped here, and we've got 10,000 things we can do with AI. We're falling behind. We've got 100,000 things we should be doing on social media. We're falling behind. This person's not at goal. Like the demands on a leader are completely scrambling and
Yeah.
mind-numbing.
Yeah.
Get us out of the scramble, Penny. Help us.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that I learned that was hard for me, as my initial focus was about productivity, right? It was all about, how do I be more productive? How do I get my team and my people to be more productive? And what I learned is that productivity isn't the point.
Tell me more.
We Because we're focused on being more efficient and working faster, but that's not the goal. The goal is, whatever the objective is to get to that goal faster with and make greater impact with less effort and less stress, and less stress. But we miss that part. We think, well, and I'm still fighting with this part of me that wants to work harder, right? When that signal comes up that I'm frustrated or I'm spinning my wheels or I feel like I want to catch up, I feel like, well, the answer, that little voice inside goes, Penny, just work harder, work more hours and you'll catch up. It doesn't work. Anybody can pop into the chat if they say that works for them. It just doesn't work, but it's this sort of instinctive reaction that happens that is wrong. And we have a lot of those, right? When we're emotional or we're in fight or flight, when we're stressed, we don't make the best decisions. We rush, we're focused on speed, and we lose sight of where it is we really want to go and what the true objective is. So that's exactly this time that we're trying to catch up is stop trying to catch up. Where do you want to go? And, what I say is reevaluate, okay, what's the best and quickest and easiest way to get there? We can't be everywhere. We can't be doing everything. We can't be following everyone. Who are the top 10 people that you want to follow that you could get summaries of, or even narrow that down to the top 3 that you're actually going to look at on a regular basis instead of having 25 newsletters that come into your email that you never look at, right? So it's really honing in on what inputs are going to give us the greatest progress.
We're going to get into the focus thieves in just a minute. By the way, if you're on the live, throw in what are the focus thieves for you? What do you feel like robs you of focus? But Penny, you said
I call
something. You
them
said a
time
few things.
vampires.
Oh, time vampires. All right. You said that productivity is not the point. I think a lot of us we're maximizing and optimizing something that shouldn't even optimize. It doesn't even deserve to exist, and
Exactly.
that's what we do. But there is this. I want to. Maybe you can fry the chip for us. The part where we feel like the answer is more effort and more work, because a lot of us, that's what got us, that's how we got into leadership. We gave a lot of effort, we hustled till we got the muscle, but we didn't figure out how to shift into something new. Can you, like, how do we fry that chip here that makes us want to just go engage with more work? That can't always be the answer.
Well, I hate to tell you, but I use this very simple, ridiculously over simple truth that if you just keep this in mind, it'll keep you in a reassessment mode. Ready? Things work
Things
until they
work
don't.
until they don't. Oh, yeah. Tell me more, please. What is this?
But here's the problem is we don't recognize that things aren't working until we're already paying the consequences and that it's too late, right? We're burnt out or we missed that innovation because we were too focused on something else that wasn't as important or you know so many different things. So my whole platform has become it's about reassessment, right? It's about resetting as a regular practice will help us to regain that focus and to sustain the that stay on the curve without going too far down. Now you're going to have some dips, right? It's just not going too far down so that coming back up feels insurmountable. But lessons to be learned, there are going to be dips, but if we can recognize when we're off track or we've lost perspective or we're emotionally hijacked, if we can recognize that faster, then we can turn it around faster. So when resetting is a regular practice, then we can get where we want to go faster.
Penny, bring us here because I mean this is it's one of those things that I think we can know a truth
Mm.
and we think that knowing something is doing something. We think that knowing something does something, but a lot of times I think knowledge can be just a part of the clutter. And a lot of us we're very suspicious of something that is simple. Can you can you help us to overcome a little bit of that and then give us some practical ways like where when and how like a reset can help a leader? What should we be doing?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, right, we're just coming back, these simple truths coming back to the fundamentals, right? So if you think about sports, right, they're always talking about coming back to the fundamentals. learning and relearning and getting good at the fundamentals and applying them to the different contexts. Context may change, but the fundamentals stay the same, right? So I think that's just to remember that if we can keep that in mind and we practice that. So we're probably already, you people who are listening, you probably already have some reset practices that you're doing, but maybe by calling them that and recognizing that, then you can actually get more out of them. So, and it's the practice in that that's going to help you to live that simple truth, right? You said, how do we know things, but we don't do what we know. So it's, and that's human nature. It's difficult. It's being able to see what it's costing us when we don't do it
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing the benefits. And the more that you recognize the benefits, the more you'll do something, right? So it's the same reason why you give a dog a treat and you keep giving them the treat to reward good behavior and they keep doing it because they're getting the treat. It's the same for us. We get a little treat, whether it's we see the advancement of someone else on our team because we built feedback into a reset rhythm, that we don't wait once a year or once a quarter to give a performance review, that we're giving performance reviews constantly. After that client meeting, we sit down and we have a quick performance review to give one core feedback, not 10 things that they need to change, but one thing that they could improve upon, right? When feedback is made a part of a culture, and I call it a reset rhythm, right? So that they know after every client meeting, we're going to sit and review and we're going to get better. We're going to listen to the tapes and look at, some nuances of the language and the conversation and where did we get stuck and what went really well. That's also the thing that isn't a common, I think one of my sessions talks about that in on my courses, is that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we only focus on what went wrong or where we could improve. But our reset rhythm should also include what worked and how do we double down on that? How do we teach everybody this best practice and make sure that we're getting the most out of that, right? So that's just
100%.
one example with
Right.
feedback, but it could be like at a meeting, before every meeting, identify the objective before you start the meeting. Give everybody a moment to catch their breath. They all came from the last meeting. So maybe something that they do that grounds everybody there in the meeting in addition to the objective. And then at the end, rate the meeting so that you're constantly holding those who are running these meetings accountable. Maybe it's 2 questions. What's the rating of this meeting and did you need to be there?
So I'm gonna take a step back here because like you're already dropping some gold. Can you frame it? You've given us some examples already. When you say reset, penny means what? When you're saying reset, and you've already started mentioning some of those ways, but I want to think like small, medium, and large, or maybe like uh, daily, weekly, monthly,
Mhm.
annual. Like what are some of the different versions? So when you say reset, well, actually, before we get into the whys, when you say reset, what do you mean? And then I want to know like scientifically, why does that? What's happening when we reset?
Sure. So what I mean by a reset, and I first of all, the word in itself has an instinctive set of 3 steps that you go through when you reset. And so that's why it just struck me how important it is and how you can access it through just saying, we're going to take a reset here. I'm going to reset. Give me a moment to reset. What happens is that intuitively, when we say we're going to take a reset, we step back
Hmm.
away from the emotion, away from being stuck in the problem or the situation so that we can um, reduce the intensity, get some objectivity. And then that leads us into step 2, which is to get perspective. Now we've gotten some perspective. We stepped out of the problem, out of the emotion. Now we can zoom out and remind ourselves, what's the bigger objective here? um, you know, uh, Make sure we're taking in other people's insights. So are we really asking our client, or are we just assuming we know what the client wants?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we're able to ask different questions there. What are we missing? Right? How do we get perspective? And then we can realign, which is step 3, around our best next steps. And so it's grounding us. It's giving us space to think in a very fast-paced world that we live in, to think and pull in other people or other ideas, other ways of looking at things. It gives us that can give us a boost in creativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're stuck in the problem, that's why we're stuck. We can't think of our way out. But when we look at it as though it was someone else's problem, right? We could solve anybody else's problem when we're looking at it, but solving our own problems, well, that's something else, right? So that's what the reset practice, I call it a reset practice, is. When you're resetting, you're going through that framework of those 3 steps. And when you make it visible and present, that's what I mean, is you may have some of these practices that you do once in a while or regularly, but when you call them that, you might notice that, geez, I am doing some breathing exercises in the morning when I get up, but maybe you're not going through all 3 steps. That's what we do, is
Mm.
sometimes we skip that number 2, the getting perspective, is giving ourselves a space and a moment to ask a new question and to really zoom out. Okay, I'm present now. Let's go. Okay, it's not enough. We need that extra step to be able to see what we're not seeing, or ask a few additional questions. And it can take a moment, right? It doesn't have to be, in my world, reset moments can be, 60 seconds, but some reset moments are longer. It could be a week or a month if you're going through tariffs are changing and it's a season, right? And you have to work your way through. There might be multiple reset moments within that bigger reset moment that's happening. And then, and so that's important to understand as well.
I love it. I mean, these are all over. They're all around us.
Mhm.
Real quick, for those of you who are leaders, how do you reset yourself or your team? And how many of you are bringing your meetings are booked back to back to back to back to back to back to back, and you don't give yourself that break for lots of, like, not just bio, breathing and all kinds of things. Like, are you resetting? I'm curious to know from those of you who are live. But Penny, so you said it's step back, get perspective, and realign. And I just now mentioned, I can't tell you how many people I talk to. Everything like, as you mentioned earlier, everything just feels like I always have to be productive at every moment. Meeting,
Right.
meeting, 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 email, meeting. Like, it's like everything is squished together. But there's, like, we're ignoring a part that you've mentioned in your talks and in your courses, this emotional part of the human being. What are we missing out on when we're just going, like, we're pulling our load like a horse? What are we missing out on when we're bunching everything together like that?
You're missing out on the creativity, right? That's a huge part of what you're missing out on, because what happens is, in our brain, when we're in speed mode, fix it, got to do it faster and keep running, is that we narrow our focus. Our focus narrows. That's what happens when we go into fight or flight. And that's what's happening, is we're experiencing a stress response. And that means that we're losing perspective. We're caught up in the minutia. And, so there is, speed actually comes from us knowing when to zoom in and when to zoom out. Because when you're stuck in it, you're going to be making mistakes, and that causes rework, that causes, reputation issues, or uh, cost, more costs in the organization, like all sorts of ripple effect from trying to do things too fast. And then, like
Mhm.
I said, you lose the creativity of, well, you could actually be doing this better. You lose the connectivity between you and your team. So you come into this meeting and you're stressed and you're rushed. And then what happens is that everybody's on edge in the meeting. Even if you're on Zoom, you can feel someone's energy because it comes with them. It's actually what's present before they interact with
Wow,
you.
100%.
It's funny. I was just looking through my story bank, and this story popped up. Maybe it's a little relevant here. It's not a business story, but I thought it relates. So last year I was on I fly a lot. I was on a plane sitting next to this woman, a little bit of an older woman, with her daughter there. And we got going, we had a little chit chat. And as we were flying, we went into some serious turbulence, and the plane just whoosh, like dropped, right? Drinks fell off. People were screaming like it was that kind of a thing. And this woman next to me grabs my hand, and she's holding my hand. And I was thinking, and I was happy to hold her hand, and I was there for her. I was present. I was feeling it too, but it helped both of us, right? But afterwards, she had let go. She said, "Thank you so much," and we went on our way. And I thought about it afterwards. What made her feel comfortable enough to grab
Mm,
a complete stranger's hand when her daughter was right next to her? Didn't grab her daughter's hand, just grabbed my hand.
interesting.
And so, when I think about that, is just because you're their leader doesn't mean they're going to look to you for the support that they need, because they might feel like they're going to be judged, or right, it's not a safe space.
Oh,
So, what energy did I bring that made her immediately feel safe with a stranger that she could hold? I mean, now granted, it's an event that happened, right? But she chose me as a reaction. And so maybe, for that reason, maybe your daughter would give her a hard time, or mom, what are you doing? I have no idea, right? But so we just need to be aware that just because we have a role doesn't mean that we have to earn that role every single day. And the way that we show up, the way that we show up to a meeting, the way that we show up to a one-on-one, if we're rushed, people feel dismissed. And if they feel dismissed, you're late to a meeting. I had a leader that I used to work with, and he was constantly late to his own meetings. And he had no idea the level of disrespect that his people felt for him for being late to his own meetings. And
whoa.
so we just have to be aware of the energy we bring and how we're showing up. And that's where that quick break for everyone could make a difference, so that you can walk in with a smile, with a warmth, with a presence.
So in a moment, I want to dig into that here, but there's something for anyone who watches Penny in the world, and anyone who's seen her TED Talk that's had over 1 million views. It actually hit kind of a sore subject for me because Penny, all, all of my kids, they can all do, well, not all of them, but several of them, we have 8, but several of my kids can solve this in less than a minute. And it doesn't matter where it's at. But the problem is that this is how people come to us. They come to us tangled. They come to us mixed up, and there's an emotional part of this. And the truth is that, like the lady on the airplane, unless I feel safe enough with you as my lead, look at you, you're doing it. Unless I feel safe enough with you as a leader, I'm not going to be able to like share my tango with you. I have to be
Right.
almost you're almost a an imposter telling you that I have these great projections. Look at that. That was so fast. I have these great projections. Everything is going good. How's it going? Going good. All of these automated responses. And what's happening is we're
Mm.
missing out on the truth, and we're missing out on an opportunity to share with people. It is our job to untangle people. How can we be doing a better job as coaches? You're a coach. How can we be doing a better job at, and there's an algorithm, like you just did this in front of us. How
Right.
many how many moves are there for you to solve that, the Rubik's Cube?
Well, that's a complicated. So I'm not a speed cuber. I'm not a professional in any way. So, but that's why I use the Rubik's Cube as a metaphor for the complexity of our lives and our relationships, right? And these challenges that we can face, whether they're personal or in the organization. The way that I teach people to do it is, if you start with the end in mind, the way that I just solved it here is, if you start from an end cube and you bring it back to the beginning cube, there's only four moves that you need to make over and over again. And with 100% certainty, those 4 moves done over and over again, you will return to clarity, to your end
Mm,
cube. And so that's kind of my metaphor is if you use these three steps, step back, get perspective, and realign, and you do them over and over again, like a feedback loop for life, for any challenge, you will return to clarity.
mm,
And you will be able to meet someone where they are, wherever, however mixed up and messed up they are, even though that's a couple of, if you're actually solving the cube from anywhere, there's a couple of different algorithms that are together. But isn't that the case also is that wherever it's mixed up, every individual is coming from a different place.
mm.
They have different experiences. They have different generations that they were brought up in. They have different cultural influences and so forth, and live somewhere else, potentially in the world today. So how you approach that person is going to be different than how you approach someone else. But if you go from the idea that how do I meet this person where they are? How do I show up in a way that enables us to walk through this? Then, then you have a starting point. So if you step back and you make it about them, how can I work with this person, right? And it's always going to work as long as you are open to that perspective, and then you help them to realign with feedback, with best next steps, whatever it is. So I really believe that the reset mindset, what I call it, right? Resetting on a regular basis, when you create that for yourself as a leader and you build that into your culture, that it's really the stabilizing, it's the leadership skill that is absolutely essential for successful leadership.
100%. And don't overlook it because it's simple. Our job, like the only reason any of us has any value on this planet is because we take something complex and we make it simple, right? And so what you're doing, Penny, is you're making something really simple. And we're going to simplify this, guys, in some real practical ways right here in just a moment. But for you as leaders, the very first thing that you should be is permission. So for you, if you want to simplify and unmix the Rubik's Cube of your people's lives, start with you, right? So you do the things you want to give others permission to do. So Penny, how can we, I'm just, let's go back to the manager that has back to back to back to back to back meetings and they book themselves out that way and they think they did. What can you do? These people with the calendars that are full today, it's our meetings, our meetings, our meetings. What can they do practically? What permissions can they give themselves? What can they say? What can they do physically to build a ritual that will help them to not bring the last meeting, whether it was good or bad, into the next meeting?
Sure. Well, let's address, first of all, the back-to-back meetings with 60-minute meetings. That can be addressed by changing the meeting and setting a rule across the organization that we do 45-minute meetings. Done. And, Parkinson's law tells us we'll use whatever time we have allotted. So
Mhm.
you'll have more efficient and better meetings in 45 minutes than you will in 60. So that's where I would start. But let's say you do have and are running from meeting to meeting, you can actually reset your nervous system in 60 seconds.
Tell us more.
So,
How would you do it exactly? Let's just say we had the 45-minute meeting. I'm still got my mind bunched up from my last meeting. How do I reset my mind in 60 seconds?
well, for the 60 seconds, we know that breathing is the fastest way to shift our state. So, and here's what, I'm currently going through like breath school, like I'm learning more about breathing. And so I don't just mean there's the possibility of just a deep breath, right? And letting it out, but there's some little nuances that we can actually stimulate our vagus nerve, which is basically the reset button of our body. I'm not a doctor, so that's how it was explained to me, and I think it's
You're
pretty
just a
cool.
focusologist. Yep.
So if you breathe in and you just hold it a little bit longer, so for like 8 seconds, and then you sigh. The sighing, ah, hopefully, right, you're doing this in a private space that people aren't listening to you. Uh, but
No.
it's the
Yeah.
sighing or humming that will stimulate the vagus nerve and that will be part of that relaxing piece of it, right? And people naturally sigh and they don't realize that they're sighing because of that when they're looking to release stress. And also a key is breathe out longer than you breathe in. So, and longer than you hold. So, there's lots of different ways and all of them will help. But this particular way helps to bring you quicker to calm. So if like you breathe in for 4, hold for 8, release for 10, or just release 2 seconds longer, it is useful because then you're letting everything out of your lungs.
Love it. What should we like? Is there a way like you self-talk is one of the things, one of the levers you pull as well and help people to pull. What can we tell ourselves? Is there anything we can do there?
Well, I guess in 60 seconds.
Maybe,
So
yeah.
in 60 seconds, you might just say, some people like affirmations and things like that, and some people don't. So if it works for you, you could say, I'm energized, ready, and and clear for my next meeting. Or you can just set an intention. Like, it doesn't have to be self-talk specifically. You can say, how do I want to be and show up for this next meeting? Do I want to be focused? Do I want to be clear? Do I want to be grounded? What's the most important thing for you to show up as? So you could do that and step
Mm,
into how that
that's good.
feels. Breathe into that, right? Include that into your breathing, your 60-second breathing. The other thing that you can do also is have some essential oils or something that are close by, and you could just take a little citrus or a peppermint, and that will immediately also help you within 60 seconds to change your state.
Or smelling salts if you're in the NFL. I think
That's right.
you can do
And
that.
if I might throw in there one other thing that you could do also as a leader who has a lot of meetings, or a team that has a lot of meetings, a regular reset rhythm would be to do a meeting audit and to review all the meetings that you have, how many people are at those meetings, what those meetings cost, maybe once a quarter, and look at who really needs to be there and remove some of the meetings that you're going to that you really don't need to be at. I worked with a leader who actually realized that once he stopped going to some of the meetings that he didn't need to be at, and he was inserting himself, so he couldn't help himself but lead a little bit, and he took away the authority of his chief operating officer who was supposed to be running that meeting, and they actually ran better, and his chief operating officer felt more empowered when he stopped coming to the meeting. So think about whether you really need to be there.
Good advice. I want to end here just because there's so much. And by the way, Scott, if you can drop in where people can get some connection, and I believe there's something that you're giving away, Penny, for people who are watching and listening. Scott, if you can drop that in, and maybe you can tell us about that. But I'm curious. Like I was listening to your podcast, and I think you're in the month was January or February, the month of generosity. There's like these
Well,
lenses that you put over your. I'm curious
yeah,
how that's going.
it's going great. So generosity is my word for the year. So
The
I'm a big
year.
word geek and
Hmm.
I love words, and generosity came up for me a couple of times, and that's just such a great word, generosity. It to me it has so much in it. Then I decided when it came up a second or third time, I was like, well, how am I going to live into this? And so then I decided, what are all the things that I could embody that are part of being generous and experiencing generosity for myself or giving to others? And so I have a word that lives into that every month. So January was letting go. So that's something for me personally. I need to create space to
Okay.
be more generous, to live into that. Create that space. So I've been doing that, and I gave everybody a an assignment to unsubscribe from those newsletters, but also to look at what else in your life are you subscribed to, whether it's people or stories or beliefs that no longer serve you. So how do we be generous to ourselves and give ourselves permission to let go of those? So that was January, and February is about receiving. So when we can receive, then we are better givers. Also, what's interesting is I did a thing on this once where a lot of women have this. I don't know if men have this. You can tell me whether you've experienced this, but someone gives you a compliment, I love your hair. Oh God, I didn't even do it today. Right? Or, oh, what a great dress. Oh, I got that at a thrift shop. Or,
Yard sale. Yeah.
it's always like a
Yeah.
diminishing, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Hmm.
no, oh, that was so hard, or whatever it is. And so instead of just saying thank you,
Hmm.
so I had some time when I was younger where I just lived into the saying thank you and receiving. And I think that's something that sometimes people have a hard time doing. They like to give, but they don't like to receive. And they forget that if you don't allow someone to give and say thank you and take it in, then you're actually taking away from their giving experience. So in a
Hmm.
way, receiving is also giving,
It's a
right? If
cycle
somebody
for
offers you
sure.
a seat on the bus, right? I told my kids, I'm like, take it. They're offering you, they want to give it to you. You refusing it is not allowing them to give. So,
I love it. And
um,
for me, that word means a lot too. I'm toying around with trying to become the most generous man I know. But we'll see
oh,
on
that's
that one.
awesome.
But
So how are you doing that?
no, 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 no. Like I've chosen something else first because that one scared me too much. So I'm trying to become the
Okay.
most grateful man I know. But I love that though. Like generate, genesis, genetic. There's so much even generate all of these things. They come from that thing. There's a creation process that comes from that. But I think for me, I loved that you did. Like we think about the small moments and we think about these strategies and tactics, but this belongs on our weekly calendar, our monthly calendar, and our annual calendar. And
Mm.
Penny, this is how we can kind of stay clean and decluttered so we're not living by accident, but we're living intentional. We're not just gathering stuff and getting crippled by it and cramped up by it, but we're freely moving, right?
Right. But we do hold on to things. So if we don't stop and let go of things from time to time, right? And that's what creates stress. It's not just what's happening, it's what we're holding on to.
Hmm.
So
There's
I
there's
and I'd say it, but I'm working at it too, right? So it's not easy. I think we're wired to hold on to things because we think that letting it go is losing something, where actually we're opening up space.
I love it. And I think for us, we can rest assured that the supposedly the top professionals always open up a practice because not only are they doing it, but they still have to practice it for themselves as well. And so like hopefully all of us here can open up our focusology practice where we get to help others while we're helping ourselves in the
Absolutely.
process. Penny, I could talk to you for another hour. I really could. I really wish I want to. But I'm just going to say that we're going to have to do a part two for sure. I hope that you'll come back for a
I would
part
love
two.
to.
And but I want to know how we can get you, where we can find you. You do a lot of speaking to a lot of companies. There's just a lot of things that you are like. So many of us are desperately in need of this. We don't need more knowledge or more facts or another algorithm to plug into stinking, any of the AI models. What we need simplicity, and we
Mm.
need like because that's what creates clarity and confidence. Tell us about how we can find you and how we can get on your list and all of those things, Penny.
Sure. Well, we'll pop it into the chat. So one of the things I would love them to do is come check out my courses on myfuel.io, right? There are two courses there, the reset mindset and stress management. And if you go to the link that's on there, let's see if I have access to it to put it up here myself. So I have
Oh,
a
I have it.
little clarity first.
Yep, they
I
put
got
it
it
on
there
here.
too.
There it is. Nice.
If you go to that particular link, you'll get a 7-day free trial of Fuel, as well as a guided 7 days from me as to how, what course could you go to, what lesson, and then also how could you best use my AI. So there's an AI instructor that's available of me that you can ask. It has loaded up with my knowledge, my perspective on things, this whole framework, and they can go and ask, like, what can I do to get myself back on track? Or, what are some reset rhythms? Or how can I improve these things I'm already doing? How can I get even more out of them? Or whatever it might be for you. Um, or maybe
Are
you're
you
having,
telling us, are you telling us we could be the old lady next to you on the airplane, that we can feel safe to grab hold
Yes.
of Penny's
Oh,
hand
that's
and
so
ask you
sweet.
anything.
That's so sweet. I would love that. I would love
Uh,
for people to come and hold my hand and talk to my AI.
I have been your old lady all week long, and so I would encourage all of you guys to become Penny's old lady for a little while. Grab the hand. I know this is a silly metaphor, but we'll end we'll end that. Penny, any last thoughts for leaders that really need to rediscover this ritual? Any extra thoughts that just little spin you want to put on it before we say goodbye to everyone for now?
Uh, I think what I want people to know is you're working harder and you're not getting where you want to get with that effort. And, I see you, I experience this and acknowledge everybody who's going through that. Like these are challenging times to be leading in. And so recognize that, give yourself a break that, and start with one small thing. Take that. I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule. What's the 20%, that 20% that would make everything easier for you? Would it be getting some more sleep? Maybe that would just help the stress to go down. Or maybe it would be, you know, really quick to get that peppermint stick or something that you just have in your pocket or near you, that anytime you needed a little 60-second pickup, that you could give yourself permission to take that. Whatever that first step is for you, that first challenge, just do that.
Penny, thank you so much. You guys have just been getting untangled and solved by the one and only Penny Zenker. I hope that you'll find her in all the places. And Penny, you've made us all just a little bit better, a little bit more confident, a little bit more clear. And guys, if we can lead better, we can live better. Thanks for making that happen today, Penny.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Donnie.